founders of the Femto Forum. Thank you for joining us.
It's great to be here, Michelle.
Now, we actually, interesting enough, had a chance to touch base, I think, probably every 6 weeks over the last 3 months in particular, but I know that you guys have some new announcements, some great things that you're doing overall. And mostly, I just think it's so great that you're really developing that presence as far as participating in a lot of these trade shows. For our audience members that are tuning in on our live stream here, perhaps learning about the Femto Forum for the first time, let's just get a quick overview of the organization.
For sure. So Femto Forum is an industry association. We have about 55 operators and 120 members altogether. And what we do is we promote and enable femtocell technology right around the world. So we've got members in the US, in Europe, in Asia. They represent between them over 1.4 billion mobile subscribers, which is 27% of all the mobile subscribers in the world.
Right. Now, for those that are still trying to get their heads wrapped around what are femtocells and how does that impact my world, how many times you've been in a building and lost your cell signal and not be able to communicate with somebody in a building? And it's kind of ironic because we used to attribute that challenge to being outside in outdoor environments where we were losing cell signals, but we're just as challenged inside, especially, for example, in a large concrete facility like we're in right now. Now, you have a product here. I don't know if you want to sort of launch into that right away and sort of give an example of the types of products that are making femtocells available today.
Yeah, I'm happy to. I mean, in terms of the challenge, first of all, as you say, we've all experienced that sinking feeling where important call, step into a building, can't make it anymore. And traditionally what people have tried to do is build more cell towers to fix that.
Right.
And frankly, building more cell towers to improve indoor coverage is a little bit like, turning up the street lamps to be able to read better in bed.
Right.
It makes a certain amount of sense, but not too much.
Right.
There's a better way. So we have bedside lamps, and the equivalent of the bedside lamp is this. Yeah. So this is a femtocell.
Right.
It's a low-power wireless access point. Most of them are 3G technology, which means they work with all existing 3G phones. You don't need a special phone, you don't need to install any special software.
Right.
You just plug it in, the green light comes on, and you start receiving great cell reception. You get 5 bars on your phone right around the house, you get great data service, you typically get a different tariff package, so you might buy into the femtocell service and have all your calls on the femtocell included as part of that service.
Right.
For the cell carrier, it's a major opportunity for them to continue to take on the increasing amounts of data from the smartphones.
And it's interesting, actually, that that is very apropos for this particular show. One of the things that we're seeing at the show is participation from industries such as anyone in sort of electronic payments now becoming mobile payments, right? And we think about the challenges that we had, in the earlier days of the PC, and I want to make a commerce transaction, and oh my goodness, this connection is dropped or it's lagging. I mean, when you think about commerce transactions, that's sort of the one thing. It's like, I don't want that to drop. I don't want to lose that connection. And why is that important in terms of in-building? Well, maybe I'm at home, maybe I'm not at home, maybe I'm at work, and I need to do some type of financial transaction on my device, or the iPad, for example, being launched, right? So I think about the types of devices that we're going to be utilizing today in a building, and the types of transactions, and whether it's rich media or an actual transaction, that really make a difference as to whether or not that signal is not going to drop. And that's really what we're talking about here.
That's a great example, because in those situations, it's got to be reliable. You don't want to start a transaction going, and then by the time you actually get to paying for it, oh, it's dropped. I have to start again. Did I pay twice? Who knows?
Exactly.
It needs to be reliable. And increasingly, the devices matter. So whether it's an iPad or your iPhone or any device, 3G-enabled device, you may have several of these devices on and about your person, and they all need to work together. So what we're finding is that there's a huge outpouring of new apps, of new amounts of data. It's really overloading the networks. 3% of smartphone users generate 40% of the data traffic on the networks.
Right.
So operators start to talk about, well, should we charge different amounts to different users for different levels of service? And that may come, but for most users, they just want to feel that they're open to just
whether
using
I
that service.
make one transaction or 30 transactions, I need to know that it's going to work.
I need to know how much it's going to cost me, and that it's going to be reliable in the process.
Yeah.
So instead of operators starting to limit those services, they can actually use femtocells to increase the capacity of their network. So it doesn't only deliver a faster, more reliable service, it also means that we don't have to come a point in a year or two when all the networks are full, and basically the price has to go up, or we just have to stop using it. That's not a good situation to be in.
Right.
So, more spectrum, and so on, but more femtocells mean you can use the existing spectrum more densely. You can offload the traffic from the carrier's existing network, and you can just enable that growth to continue.
Right.
A couple of the things that we're doing here at the show is we're actually looking at the potential for the next generation of femtocells. So right now, today, there are 13 operators around the world committed to femtocells. There are 9 commercial services, including AT&T, Sprint, and Verizon in the US. But what we're also looking for is going beyond that and enabling LTE and WiMAX technology. So femtocells can work in those environments too. They can deliver the higher data rates that those technologies are capable of.
Right.
And they can also yield a great business case for the operator.
Right. Now it's interesting because when we were speaking before, being able to address the different types of technologies available for, fourth generation technology, whether it is WiMAX, whether it's LTE, whatever the case may be. How do you fit all that in a small box, right? You don't necessarily know what kind of network you're connecting to, right? I mean, it's one thing that I may have my device from Sprint, but what if I'm using my device in some other building that's connected? Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, it's not so simple as if I'm using WiMAX, I'm always using WiMAX. It doesn't work that way. So how do you actually account for these competing technologies?
I mean, the technology challenges are prodigious. I mean, to get the whole of the technology of a 3G base station and then some, because there's a lot of smarts in there to make it easy for the user, was an amazing achievement. But
right.
That's been done now. What we're looking forward to is an opportunity where not only do you put 3G in the box, but you might have 3G and LTE, for example. And we've looked at the potential for that, and of course there's a slight cost penalty in the process, but we've actually seen that the operators in investing in that technology can produce a 10x return on their investment in that technology because primarily of this data offload opportunity for them.
Very cool.
So it works across those technologies. The basic concept is, small cells are the big thing now.
Yeah.
That's what we need. We need more small cells that are low cost, are friendly in the home, delivering the whole range of existing services, and are acting as a platform for some brand new services when I'm in the home.
And so any final announcements or things like that are happening at the show for you guys here?
So there's a couple of things going on. There's brand new standards for femtocells in the CDMA domain as well as in the 3GPP environment. We also are seeing that there's brand new work that we've done, new research, which is showing that there's a great business case for operators on LTE and WiMAX, and also in terms of the technology working in the existing spectrum. And that's building on this momentum where we've got over 60 operators worldwide engaged in femtocell trials, and we're expecting many of those to turn into new deployments in the coming months.
Awesome. I think it's going to be a good year for the Femto Forum.
It already has been.
Thank you for joining us. I appreciate that. We've been here with Professor Simon Saunders of the Femto Forum. We're here at Showstoppers in Las Vegas. I'm Michelle Sklar with BNetTV.com.